Imagine your client getting their R&D tax claim rejected. Then you having to have that awkward conversation with them. Can you avoid this? Yes. Lucky for you and for us, HMRC have got a guide on the worst mistakes when making an R&D tax claim. I'll cover these 5 mistakes over the next few weeks, tackling one each episode. So stick around and let's go. Welcome to the R&D Tax Show, where we help accountants, tax advisors, and their clients claim R&D tax relief. Let's not diddle-daddle. Let's get right into this week. The best way to highlight this mistake is by giving a scenario. So my client creates paint for trains. Since the unfortunate attacks of 7/7 in London, there's been more regulation on what can be used on a train. And part of this relates to what sort of paints can be used. And because it's regulation, my client has to have their paints tested. To comply with this regulation, once my client has created the paint, they give this paint to a subcontractor who then tests it and ensures it complies. For this service, my client pays subcontractor £20,000. If you cap this at 65%, then £12,000 is included in the R&D tax claim. Please remember, this 65% cap only relates to subcontractor that is not connected to the claimant company. So what's the mistake? Well, if you apply this 65% cap to a claimant that's connected to a subcontractor, you're going to either overstate the claim or understate the claim. By overstating, obviously if HMRC catch you, you're in big trouble, and any overclaim costs or relief received by your client has to be repaid, and that look crap between you and your client. If you understate your claim, well, you're just not claiming enough for your client. R&D tax providers do not usually talk about the connected rules, and for this reason, it's missed. I'm not making this up because HMRC have written down that this is an area of R&D tax where a mistake is made. So what are the rules for connected companies? When a company subcontracts work to a connected company, the amount claimable is the lower of 100% of the cost paid to the subcontractor or the relevant cost of the subcontractor. Let's talk about one of our clients. I've had to hide the names because of an NDA. So Maggie Myers is a CEO of Myers Made. Myers Made creates chemicals and has recently created a cleaning product that kills COVID-19. Maggie also owns another company that specializes in testing new products to ensure they adhere to regulations. As Maggie owns more than 50% of both Myers Made and Myers Testing, these companies are connected for R&D tax purposes. So once Myers Made this chemical, they subcontracted the whole of the testing to Myers Testing, and for this they paid them £40,000. How much can Myers Made claim as subcontractor costs in the R&D tax claim? Remember, Myers Made can only claim the lower of 100% of the cost it's paid to Myers Testing, which is £40,000, or the relevant cost of Myers Testing. So I've mentioned relevant cost a few times, but you might know what I'm talking about. Relevant costs are the same as the qualifying R&D cost of an SME, but it excludes subcontractor costs. Therefore, relevant costs include staff costs, externally provided workers, consumables, software, utilities, and payments to volunteers of clinical trials. The method to work out the relevant costs of Myers Testing is the same way as you would work out the relevant cost of Myers Made. You have to discuss it with the company and find out what costs have been claimed. So going back to our example, let's say the relevant cost of Myers testing is £10,000 of staff costs, £2,000 of software costs, and £500 of utilities costs. I've rounded these numbers up to make it easy for this example. Therefore, the total relevant cost is £12,500. So to work out what we can include as a subcontracted cost for Myers Made, what is the lower of 100% of the cost paid to Myers testing, which we know is £40,000, or is it the relevant costs of Myers testing, which we just worked out now, which is £12,500? Clearly, in this example, the lower amount is the relevant costs. So we therefore include £12,500 in Myers Made claim. If the connected rules were totally ignored and we just claimed 65% of the £40,000 that Myers Made paid to Myers testing, that would have resulted of us including £26,000 in the R&D tax claim, and therefore we would have overclaimed by 13,500. And if HMRC found out we made that mistake, we would have been in big trouble. Please do not make that mistake. So what's the main takeaway of this week? If you've got a client that subcontracts work, please find out whether it's connected to the subcontractor. If you overlook this, you could be overclaiming on the R&D tax claim, and then later on, you get into trouble. Next week, we're going to look at the second worst mistake when making R&D tax claims. If you've got any questions, give me a shout. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Goodbye. Our channel is the holy grail to gain knowledge on how you can help your clients claim R&D tax relief. We upload a video every Thursday at 10 AM. These videos can be technical, but we talk about the principles and fundamentals, so grab your notepad and pen. And some are case studies where you can get an idea of real life scenarios whilst enjoying your brew.